So just real quick about me, my name is Christian Smith, and I'm the South Central Account Manager for Aurora Specialty Textiles Group. My background, I've had about 20 years in the digital print industry, various positions, sales, technical. Aurora was founded in 1883, so you don't have to be a mathematician to realize that we've been around a long time dealing with fabrics. We do manufacture proprietary products. So what that means basically is we buy the raw materials from the mills, we clean it, bleach it, we put our own custom coatings on it. So we'll move on here. One of the things that I talk to people all the time about some of the support stuff that I've done in the past. And one of the things that kind of sticks out at me is how technical people or even salespeople sometimes will engage with a customer briefly, and then when something becomes difficult, they bail out. They don't support you all the way through the process. And as a technician, it was very important to me to follow through all the way with different problems and things that we see out there. At the end of the day, you guys need help. Sometimes you don't always understand the product or the capabilities or the way that product maybe could be enhanced or improved. Some of it might be your processes. You're the experts, you're the ones printing, we just make the stuff. But there's things that we might be able to bring to the table that could help you understand that product better or understand a process better, how to run your machines, your equipment, your processes, those types of things. So I want to talk a little bit about the value of those partnerships. I think it's very important to find people and identify companies that are willing to take that extra step and engage with you guys, understand your specific problems, customize solutions that fit you, rather than broad-ranging solutions that maybe help you, maybe don't, maybe help you a little. You want to find somebody that will work with you all the way through to the detail level. So how do you get to that? Well, you get to that by finding people that are problem solvers. You want to find people that think a little bit differently, think outside the box about problems. As a technician, I always, people that know me from that background or whatever, they know that I kind of repeat this mantra over and over and over. Understand the problem, control the problem, and then fix the problem. So problems that you run into, whether it's in the actual print production side, whether it's material issues, it could even be customer service related stuff, logistical things, anything, you can apply this to anything. If you can understand the problem and all the different aspects that might affect that problem, and then you can demonstrate that you can control that problem, you can turn it on, turn it off, then you can ultimately fix the problem. So good people who are good service representatives, whether it's a salesman or a technician with a screwdriver, they don't always look for the quick way or the cheap way or the easy way out of a problem. They're going to look for the right way. Those are the people that you want to try to partner with as much as possible. Sometimes, obviously the cheap way or the quick way is the best way, because you have an immediate need. You have to get past a problem to produce again. And you have to be able to identify those times, but you always want to come back and apply the right solution once you've gotten past that trouble. So people that kind of disappear later, those probably aren't very good partners to work with. You want somebody that's going to come back and understand and fix the problem. So who has responsibility for that? Well, the manufacturers obviously do. We're making the product, so we have to explain to you guys what the product is and how to use it. The distributors have a responsibility for that. The technicians that are dealing with the equipment have a responsibility for that, and the sales and marketing people do for presenting information in a way that you can understand better. At the end of the day, you're the customer, and everything has to revolve around you. So again, if you're not partnering with people that have you as their focus, then they're probably not good partners to be dealing with. We're going to get on to the kind of the core of what you're here for, which is common obstacles. So when I go out, whether it was as a salesman or as a technician, I start talking to people about printing on fabrics. One of the things that I find myself doing a lot is defending myself against the perceptions that are out there. And I had somebody actually today come to the booth, and one of the first things that they said to me was, I don't deal with fabrics because I don't want to upgrade to dye sublimation equipment, or I don't print t-shirts and garments and that kind of thing. And that's kind of the first misconception that we'll talk about. What we see is, again, the people come to me and say, I'm not going to print with fabric products because I don't do t-shirts. I don't want to invest in dye sublimation equipment. So the perception that's out there is that when you talk about printable fabrics, you're talking about dye sublimation. And that just doesn't have to be the case. The ink technology is improved. The coating technology is improved. The material technology is improved and the equipment is improved. There's a lot of people here today that have new equipment that they're debuting that are specifically for certain applications, dye sublimation or fabric printing, that kind of thing. So if you have one of these types of machines now, which most of you probably have a solvent, a UV, or a latex printer in your office right now, you can print on fabric products today. You may not realize that, but you can do it right now. So if some of you guys said earlier you're trying to explore maybe getting into that fabric option, you don't have to invest in dye sublimation equipment to do that. You can begin entry into that market right now as we speak. So it's very important to understand that. Again, you got to match the right products. Not all products work on all applications or all ink types, so you have to make sure you have the right technology, the right materials to match with your technology. But again, find the people who understand that can help you. The manufacturers or the distributors that you're buying from, those people. One of the other things that I hear a lot about is fabric handling. Everybody says, it's too hard to deal with. This guy here, he's got a problem because he's not keeping his print area clean. He's got stuff laying all over his printer. That's going to create some issues. A lot of times you do these things to yourself. If you don't operate your machines properly or you don't control the environment that printer is in, you create those problems yourself. He's got this going on up here, all that wrinkly on his fabrics. That can't be fun. But he's still producing. He's found a way. He's overcome those things. And that's what you want. So sometimes, certain materials, maybe the stretch qualities make it a little bit difficult to deal with, to run through your machine. It'll pull and stretch a little bit, and that might play, kind of funny with your alignments or how it feeds through the machine. He's doing paper transfer, so he's probably got to deal with paper cockling. Whenever a water-based ink hits paper, it wants to expand. So if it can't go sideways, it's going to go up right into the printhead path, and that could create some difficulty. And then color quality and color management. Those are we're going to talk about those in a minute. But color quality and color management is something that I hear a lot about. They say that it's difficult to color profile or whatever, and there's some truth to that. But again, we'll talk about that more in a minute. The important thing to understand here is that these are really hurdles, not roadblocks. So when you're thinking about getting into fabric products and you're thinking about all these problems that we're talking about, understand that when you went back and started with banner materials or vinyls, maybe you printed on paper products in the past, those were difficult 10 years ago, 15 years ago. People struggled with that, but you overcame that. You continued, you worked with it, and you got past that. So now those are almost laughable type problems. You look back at it. Fabrics are really no different. There are certain things that you have to understand about how they handle, how to set them up on your machine. Feed and take up units usually have tensioners now for some of that fabric to help with that. But those are just, again, they're hurdles. They're not things that should stop you from getting into this type of printing. Finishing requirements. We talked a little bit about this today at the booth also. Somebody came by and was talking to me about that. I don't have the right finishing equipment. It's too costly or too difficult to use. Again, I'm not going to argue with you on that. There are some certain applications that are going to require some custom type finishing equipment maybe. This guy's doing canvas around a gallery wrap, so he's got to buy something to stretch that canvas and staple it. He's got to have the woodworking and all that stuff to go along with it. This one's doing, looks like tape. She's applying the clear coat to a canvas. So there are applications that might require some type of finishing, but again, I would go back to the other applications that you've done in the past. If you're doing vehicle graphics, you're probably laminating those. When you got involved in that, you had the same problem. You looked at that and said, I got to have some kind of laminator. But you didn't look at that and say, I got to have a laminator, I'm not going to do vehicle wraps. You went in and you invested in the lamination equipment and you learned how to use it. So again, finishing is the same way with fabrics. Maybe you have to buy a sewing machine. You might even have to invest, if your volume is big enough, in somebody to operate that machine. So there might be an employment investment that you have to deal with there. It just depends on the situation and the volume that you're dealing with. You might have to invest in roll laminates or some other types of custom finishing stuff. But again, it's problems you've dealt with in the past. You've done this already. Why would fabric be any different than those other applications? It's just another hurdle to get past, another thing to understand. Once you get your head around it, then you invest in the proper equipment, you find the right training, and then you move past that problem. And then 10 years from now, I'm standing here talking about some other technology and we're laughing about this. This one came up as well. This is This is a very big topic. Fabrics can't be used for outdoor application. The word can't is a very strong word when you say that. So there are outdoor applications: tents and awnings, event signage, displays, flags and banners. I've started seeing fence wraps with a lot of the companies I've gone to. They get this little, almost like a jersey. It's got little holes in it, little jersey material, and they're stretching across fences. That's something that's becoming popular. This guy's got some of the tent and awning. He's got table drapes out there. He's got a feather flag. He's got a little pop-up stretch banner. You're not going to find a lot of people in the fabric industry that will pin down specific dates or times or how long durability you might have outdoors. Mainly that's for two reasons. One, because we don't have the factual data to support that. Most of the people don't do the testing on that. And the reason they don't do the testing is because historically, about 90% of the stuff that's done on fabrics is indoor applications anyway. Okay, but the problem there that we talk about is that just because the majority of those things are indoor applications doesn't mean it's an indoor product. So there's plenty of products in the fabric line that work very well outdoors. Polyester banners, things like that we were talking about earlier today as well. Polyester performs just fine outdoors. So it comes down then to the ink technology that you're using. Make sure you have an ink technology that will stand up outdoors to the stuff that you're doing. But again, too, the thing to remember is that a lot of this stuff is temporary. You're not talking about printing a fabric face and putting it outside on the side of a building for 5 years. That's just not a realistic application for that. So you got to make smart choices also. Make sure you're matching the proper products with the proper applications. That's very important. So again, we go back to the partnerships we talked about earlier. You need to talk to the right people that can steer you the right direction and make sure you understand which products to use where and when. That's really the key to the whole thing. So again, you're making smart choices already. Some of you guys might have a UV flatbed. Somebody comes to you and says they need a printed face, for a pole sign that's going to go 75 feet in the air. Well, you're not going to do that probably on an 1/8 inch acrylic. 1/8 inch is pretty thin and acrylic is pretty brittle. And you put that 75 feet in the air and you hit it with wind and it's going to snap right in half. So you're probably going to go with a thicker material, 3/16, maybe 1/4 inch. You're probably going to go with a modified acrylic or some type of polycarbonate to be able to handle those things. You might even have UV inhibitors inside there to prevent yellowing. So again, when you develop that solution for that job, you're already making those smart choices. So again, you relate that to fabric, it's no different. You're making smart choices, select the proper product for the proper application. If you don't do that, it's going to fail. And you'll be one of those people that are saying, no, you can't do that outside. Well, so that brings us to kind of the main point of some of this is that this is something that the color management side that I get very passionate about this, because this color management as a technician, when you go into somebody's shop, this is one of the main things that people talk about quite a bit. They complain about the color, they don't like the output. They're quick to point fingers at machine manufacturers, ink manufacturers, material manufacturers, and certainly there's a responsibility on those people to provide good products, to provide the right training that will allow you to print properly. But it's not a one-button solution. So a lot of the shops like to have one ICC profile that covers everything. And maybe on the vinyl side, you can kind of get away with that a little bit more because everything more or less is the same white point, kind of the same type of material. Your ink limitations, things like that can be about the same. So you can kind of do that with maybe just a little bit of tweaking and color correction. But fabrics are a little bit different because there are so many different types of textures. There's so many different types of color tones that are involved. When you try to use a spectrophotometer like this and you scan a textured fabric, you might get light deflection, or maybe it doesn't pick the color up the way that you should. A lot of the softwares have the ability to scan multiple times per square, per target, and then it takes an average of that. And most people don't use that. Maybe they have it set to 1 or 2 or 3 or something like that, but sometimes maybe it's important to go ahead and do multiple scans for that. So maybe it takes a little more time, but that doesn't mean it's more difficult. You're still using the same process. You're still using the same equipment. There's no additional investment there. Now, the bigger part of that problem, and the reason I get so passionate about it, is because there's so many people that have this equipment and don't use it, or they'll try to use it once and then they'll give up on it because it's a little difficult. But there's people out there that can help. There's G7 certifications you can go if you really want to understand color. Mark Rugen does seminars around the country. He's very good. He's got a website called givemehelp.com. He's very good at helping people with profiling issues and teaching them how to use that. The reason I have this slide up more than anything is that, the perception there is that it's difficult to work with, and it shouldn't be that way. It's the same process no matter what material or substrate that you're using. You're still going through the same process. So companies like mine, we manufacture printable textiles. Ink companies like Sentient, DuPont, they produce the inks that go on those things. Mamaki, Roland, EFI, Reggiani, they talked about earlier, those guys make machines that do this stuff. But your job as a printer is to make color. It's really the core of your business. It's what you're there for. So you have a responsibility there as well to take control of that color output. Rather than point the finger at everybody else, and say, this is your fault, your material's not white enough, or, I can't print very well on this machine. You have to go back and understand the color process a little bit and really take control of it. You're the only one that can decide what the right color is and what the wrong color is. Color is a very subjective thing. I see color different than you see color. Men see color different than women see color. That's not opinion, that's science. It just is. And so to expect one person to be able to fix all your color problems with a one-button solution is just not realistic. Color is the thing that really sets you apart from your competition. Everybody in here has similar equipment. They all have similar inks. They're printing on similar products. But what makes you different than the guy next to you? Color output. So if you don't take control of your color, you're not going to differentiate yourself in any way. Now maybe you have a good artist, he might be able to help you, but if that good artist is producing really nice artwork and then you're printing it really badly because of the color output, you're probably not going to sell very much of that. So if you want to really expand your business and make money, this is something to invest in no matter what products you're printing on, but especially if you're dealing with fabric products. And there's some people out there in the industry that really know this stuff well that can help. I used to work with one of them that was very good at doing color matching, stuff like that. When you get into fabric printing in particular, especially sportswear, if you're going into the garment side of it, which is very big, the sportswear people are really intent on color matching, not color profiling, but color matching. They want specific Pantone values, and you have to hit those things in order to get the volume that you need. So it's very important, I think, to invest in the proper training and the proper color management equipment. So I left this one kind of at the end because I want that kind of to be the last thing that you walk out of here with, is to understand the importance of the color. Again, you're the printer. Those printers lay color on materials, and that's what you guys do. So you should invest as much as you can, time and efforts and resources and equipment into making this the best part of your company. Again, that could be equipment, that could be training, that could be operators, it could be a lot of different things. The people you partner with and the people you hire make the difference if you want to set yourself up. So that's kind of what we talked about today. Partner with companies that are willing and able to help. There's plenty of them out there. My company is one of those that like to do that. Align yourself with companies that have the best capabilities and engage directly with you to understand problems and create solutions that benefit you. Again, at the end of the day, you're the customer. If you're not making money, we're not making money. So it's incumbent upon us to make sure you have the proper resources, you understand the products, you have the knowledge base that helps you be successful. Don't let challenges become roadblocks. Everything can be overcome if you have the right people around you helping you out. So take control of your business by taking control of your color. Color is why you're in business. So again, I can't stress that enough. That's, again, as from a technician standpoint, from a sales standpoint, I can't understand sometimes why I go to these shops and see these color spectrophotometers just sitting on a shelf collecting dust. And then I'm having to deal with a customer complaining about his color output and his products. And you've got the tools, it's there. Most of you probably have it or have seen it. Pull it back out, dust it off, get the proper training, and make your business better. And that's really kind of what we're all here for. You guys are walking this show to try to learn new things, see new products, understand things better. You've probably had plenty of people come into your shop and talk to you about color management in the past. I think it's very important that you revisit that if you're not already invested in it. Some of the best companies I've seen out there and the best products they put out, they have people that are in-house that understand that stuff and take care of it very well. Those guys produce high quality products and usually in high volume, the ones that do that. So if you want to take that next step and be one of those companies, that's the first step that you need to look at. And of course, partner with the right people. So that concludes everything that I have to say. I'd like to invite you guys over to our booth to see the products that we have. We're at booth 1827. Dan Letourneau is our president. He's going to be down there as well. He's here in the audience today, and Marcia Ayala, our vice president, is also the head of our research and development team. Mark Shaneyfelt is our director of sales and marketing, and of course me, Christian. I'm a South Central account manager. So we'd love to see all of you guys down. Thanks for coming. If you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to attempt to answer. What? It's basically just okay. So the question is, what do you need for color management? The basic thing is the spectrophotometer, which is the equipment. That will generally come with a software to driver or whatever to make it work. Onyx, any of the RIP softwares like Onyx or ErgoSoft, those guys will already have that color engine built in, but you may have to activate that, so you may have to have an additional purchase for the software to turn that on. But once you go in there, all those basically work the same way. So if you understand one and then migrate to a different software, you're going to be able to understand how to do it in that software as well, because they all follow the standard. So ICC for ICC Profile is International Color Consortium. So they have a set of standards that everybody has to adhere to create, the same solution across multiple platforms. So any other questions? We good? Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate you guys coming. Please come see us at the booth.